Hello chess friends! In this lesson I will teach you all what you have to know about endgames rook versus minor piece. We have seen that queen is very powerful piece and that queen easily wins the endgame against bishop or against the knight. With rook it is much more different. In general, rook versus minor piece endgame is drawn, but there are some rules which you must know in order not to lose the game. We will start first with the endgame rook versus bishop. In order to make draw, when you have bishop against the rook, there is only one rule which you have to know. And that rule is based on the color of your bishop. Take a look how in this position black has light squared bishop. The rule is very simple. The game will be drawn if black king is in the corner which has the opposite color than the color of the bishop. Now we are going to see a position in which black king is already there, and let's see why is this endgame drawn. So this is the position in which black king is already in a good corner. This endgame is drawn because white has no chance to win the game. Let's see what are possible moves for white. If white plays rook a8 check, the only possible move is bishop g8, covering this check, and now there is no chance for any tempo move like rook b8 because the position is immediate stalemate. After bishop g8, probably black will move the rook back to a1, bishop b3, king g6, bishop c4, rook h1 check, king g8, and rook c1, trying to checkmate on c8 square, but the problem is that black can always check white's king either on d3 or on f7 square. King f6, bishop d5, rook c8, king h7, rook c7, king g8, king g6, king h8 again, rook c8 check, bishop g8, and again all the same. There is only one moment and only one possible mistake black can make, and please be aware of that. After rook c7, black bishop has four different moves. Black can play bishop to e6, bishop to d5, bishop b3, or bishop a2. Four different options. Only one out of these four is losing the game. All other three is easy draw. Of course, you will guess that the only losing move is bishop to e6. The reason is that bishop is too close to white king, and it will not be possible later to make any check to the king. Let's see now what will happen if black makes this terrible move bishop e6. Let's see how white wins. Rook h7 check, king g8, and then great rook e7 move, at the same time threatening checkmate and attacking the bishop, and since black bishop is so close to white king, there is no chance to make any check and black loses the game. But of course, in this position, simple bishop b3 move easily draws the game because there is no any chance to make progress, and this endgame is definitely drawn. Now we are going to see what is going on if black king is in the wrong corner. In this position, black king is bad placed in so-called wrong corner, and there are no stalemate threats, and white easily wins the game. Black can probably play bishop g4, but white simply plays rook g7, threatening checkmate on g8 square. Bishop e6 is stopping that. Rook e7, attacking the bishop and threatening rook e8. Bishop h3, rook e8, bishop c8, covering the check. And now the difference is that there is this a8 square where black king can go to, and there are no stalemate problems for white. So white just play easy tempo move rook f8, leaving black with the option to play the only possible move king e8, and white easily wins the game with rook c8. In rook versus knight endgames, it is much easier in general for black to keep draw in this position. There is no any way how king and the rook can force king and the knight to the edge of the board. As long as these two pieces remain in the center of the board, the game will be easily drawn. But let us assume that we have the following situation, that black king and knight are already at the last rank. Let's see what will happen in that case. This position, with black on the move of course, is still drawn, but black must know some rules and how to play. Black will try to make checks as long as possible. Knight d8, king d6, knight b7, king c6, knight d8, so white must go to b6 in order to avoid further checks. And then knight e6 is very logical move, and after rook e7, knight goes back to d8. White still tried to win this game by playing rook c7, separating for the moment king and the knight. King goes to b8, and after rook c1, king and the knight are separated. This is the critical moment, and this is one rule which black must know in order to win the game. In order not to lose the game. In this position, black knight has two moves, knight e6 and knight f7. One of these two moves will lose the game, one move will make a draw. Maybe you will think that knight e6 will make a draw because it is closer to the king, but that is actually the mistake. Knight e6 is a bad move, and that move will lose the game. Correct move is knight f7, and knight f7 makes draw. In order to see why knight f7 makes draw, let's first see why knight e6 loses the game. Although this maybe looks as a logical move, this move is losing the game because after king c6, which is so logical continuation for white, there is no defense with king c8 move. So king c8 move now is not possible to be done. Because if king goes to c8, then white will play king d6, attacking the knight, at the same time checking black king, and knight will be lost, and white wins the game. So that's why if black plays knight e6, and after white plays king c6, there are two possible continuations for black. Black can play knight to d4, or black can play knight to d8. In both cases, white is going to win the game. If knight d4, it means that black king and the knight will be separated. And that is one of the positions in which rook wins the game against the knight. In one of the next positions, we will see examples how rook wins against the knight when king and the knight are separated. But let's see in this example as well. King d5, attacking the knight, which has very limited possibility to move. After knight e2, rook e1, and after knight c3, very good move, king c6, taking away some squares for the king and almost trapping the knight. If knight goes to a2, simply rook b1, and after king c8, simply king d6, creating zugzwang. Because if king goes to d8, it will be rook b8 checkmate, and if knight c3, just rook c1, winning the knight. Very simple. And after king c6, if king goes to a7, then just rook e3 attacking the knight, knight b1, rook d3, king a6, and now rook b3 attacking the knight. Wherever knight goes, just rook a3 checkmate. If instead of king a6, king goes to a8, then simply king b6, preparing unstoppable checkmate on d8 square. If after king c6, knight goes back to d8, then we win in a different pattern. Knight b7, rook c8 check, king a7, king c6, knight a5 check, king b5, knight b7, rook f8, knight d6, king c6, knight c4, rook f4 attacking the knight, knight a5 check, king b5, knight b7, and the key position is this. We want to put the rook on d4 and take away all available squares for the knight. That is why this whole pattern for the rook was needed. After king b8, now for example king b6 would be very bad move because king c8, and now still the game will be drawn. But the key move which wins the game here is king a6. Because if now knight c5 check, king b6, knight b7, rook d7 immediately wins the knight. And if king goes to c7, then just rook c4 check, king b8, and rook b4 wins the knight. This maybe looks complicated, but if you practice this, you will see that this is easy win for the rook against the knight if at the critical moment, after rook c1, black makes mistake and goes to e6. Let's see now, why is it drawn if knight goes to f7? Well, very simple. If now king c6 is played, king c8 is a perfect defense because there is no any discovered check which instantly wins the knight. And the game can simply proceed like this, which is a pure draw because black king goes towards the center. If after knight f7 white plays rook f1, simply knight goes back to d8, rook c1, knight f7, no chance to make progress. There are two situations in which rook wins the game against the knight. First is when both king and the knight are placed in the corner, and second, what we have already mentioned, is when king and the knight are separated. Now we are going to see both examples. This is first example. Here white wins the game because both king and the knight are placed in the corner. Rook h1, although it looks like as a good move, is a bad move because after knight c8, rook h8 and king b8, endgame is drawn because black pieces are no longer in the corner. That's why winning move is great move king b6. The point with king b6 is that if now king goes to b8, we have three winning moves. We need to keep white rook on the b file. So rook b2, rook b3 or rook b4 are winning moves. For example, again, rook h1 will be bad because knight c8 the game is drawn, but after rook b2 we win the game because there is knight c8 check, but the point is that when we play king c6, that is counter check, and that allows us to put the king on c7 and black is in zugzwang. Look now how after knight e7 we easily checkmate, of course, with rook a2, but if after king c7 knight goes to a7, now we checkmate rook b8. And look what's the difference between king and the bishop and king and the knight. We have learned that king and the bishop is drawn if king is in a good corner. Imagine that the knight on a7 is a bishop, the endgame would be drawn. But with the knight, white easily wins the game. Earlier, if instead of king b8, black plays knight c8 immediately, we have simple immediate win with king c7, knight a7, for example, and rook b8 as what we have seen earlier. And this is another interesting example in which king and the knight are separated. Winning move here is rook e4, just attacking the knight. Now knight has two bad moves which are losing the game immediately, and two moves which will lose the game a little bit later. Very bad moves here are, of course, knight f1 and knight g2. Knight f1 is the worst move possible. Simply immediate rook f4 check will win the knight. Second bad move is knight g2. It is bad because look now how all possible knight moves are controlled by perfectly placed white rook on e4 square. And now great move which wins the game is king f6. Because it's a zugzwang. If knight moves, then white wins the knight immediately. And if king g8, just rook g4, trapping this knight, and the game is over. So two possible moves in the starting position for black are knight c2 and knight d1. Let's see how white wins in both cases. Knight c2, king d5. Knight a3, trying to go to b5, but king c5 stops that. Knight b1, king b4, taking a3 and c3 squares. Knight d2, rook f4 check, and now knight is trapped. Suddenly, all squares on f-file and fourth rank are controlled, as well as b3. The only possible move is knight to b1, but then king b2, knight d2, king c2, and look how knight is trapped, because all the squares are perfectly controlled. And the last possible option for black knight is knight d1. In that case, rook f4, king g7, and rook f3, taking away most of the squares for black knight. The only possible square is knight b2, king d5, king g6, king d4, king g5, rook f1, preparing rook b1 to attack the knight, after which knight a4 and rook b4 completely traps the knight. If instead of knight b2, here black continues playing with his king, king g6, then we approach closer and simply attack this knight. Knight b2, rook b1, knight a4, rook b4 again, knight is trapped, and the game is over. That would be all about this chess lesson, in which we have learned how rook plays against minor piece. If you like this video, please click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more videos.